Welcome and thank you for attending Black History Matters, presented by the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum. It is my pleasure to welcome you and to lead you through some introductory statements. My name is Victoria Basulto, and I am a current senior at Colgate University in Hamilton, New York, as well as an intern for the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum. I will be facilitating the series of 28 presentations that will be released throughout the month of February 2021 and that you can view on our YouTube channel or on our website. The National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum is located in Peterborough, New York, in the building that you can see on the screen where the inaugural meeting of the New York State Anti-Slavery Society was held in 1835. NAHOF's mission is as follows. The National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum honors anti-slavery abolitionists, their work to end slavery, and the legacy of that struggle, and strives to complete the second and ongoing abolition, the moral conviction to end racism. NAHOF has worked in coordination with the Garrett Smith Estate National Historic Landmark, also located in Peterborough, New York, in the creation of the Black History Matters series. The following statement is the purpose of Black History Matters. NAHOF supports the racial justice movement seeking to address racial inequality, given the resonance with NAHOF's mission to address the second and ongoing abolition to end racism. NAHOF believes a significant number of Americans do not understand the current racial justice protests due to their unfamiliarity with 4 centuries of Black American history, because this history was either excluded or taught inadequately in schools. NAHOF knows that education is a powerful step towards ending racism, and that understanding the history of the enslavement and dehumanization of Black Americans provides critical context for the ongoing racial justice movements and the persistence of racism in America. Given NAHOF's commitment to strengthening knowledge of history as one route to confront racism, NAHOF will present Black History Matters, a series of crash courses covering some examples of neglected topics in Black American history throughout February of 2021. It is now my pleasure to welcome our presenter, Dr. Lorenzo Pace. Dr. Lorenzo Pace is an artist, author, storyteller, performer, and lecturer. Pace held his first exhibition at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, where he received a Bachelor's in Fine Arts and a Master's in Fine Arts. His doctorate in art education is from Illinois State University. In 1993, New York City commissioned Dr. Pace to create a memorial to 400 African Americans interned in a common ground during the 18th century. Dr. Pace is also the author of 4 children's books and has served as Montclair State University Art Gallery Director and was also professor of art at University of Texas, Rio Grande, and maintains a studio in Brooklyn, New York. I'd like to now invite Dr. Lorenzo Pace to begin his presentation on the triumph of the human spirit.
I'm gonna not read the book, I'm gonna perform the book for you. And I'm gonna perform it in a way that touches on my beginning here in this country. My little book, Jelani. In talking about Jelani, I have to go back way to the beginning of all humanity. Red, yellow, black, white, brown. All people come from my mama, Africa. Africa! Africa! The beginning of all humanity. We have to go way, way, way back. Long time ago, a long time ago in Africa. little boy named Jelani. Jelani! 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 Love to play in the forest. 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 The forest was very beautiful to Jelani. Everywhere he looked, there was life and magic. Life and magic. Life and magic. Jelani's mother told him many times not to play in the forest by himself. But, you know, some kids don't always obey their mothers. And he played there anyway. One day, when Jelani was playing in the forest with his imaginary friends, we all had them, those imaginary friends. Don't you remember? We all had them. A strange man came, took him away. Took him away to a far, 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 far off land. America. America. America, 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 America. Oh, say, can you see America? America. Locks. 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 And chains. And chains were put upon Jelani. Chains! He was forced to work all day with very little food and was never allowed to play again. Never allowed to play again. Can you imagine a little boy, a little girl, never allowed to play? Kids love to play. Jelani was forced to change many things. His name, his clothes, his food, and even his language. Obatala, Obatala, Chango, 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 Chango. But they could not change his memories. His memories of home. 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 one day, a tall man in a big black hat said, all slaves should be free. 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 And Jelani and freedom finally came. We're free. We're free. We're free. We're free. And Jelani was set free, but they kept the lock and the key that had kept him in slavery. Lock and key that had kept him in slavery. Over the years, Jelani had lots of children and grandchildren, lots of a whole world of children. A whole world of children. Red, brown, yellow, white, all children. Just before he died, Jelani gave the lock to his eldest son. He told his son that he must pass it on to his own children one day. So he will never forget from where they all came. Never forget from where we all came. The whole world comes from my mama, Africa. And in the finale, what they love to do in Africa is dance. And so that is the beginning of my story. And so now I'm going to another aspect of my story. And the lock, the lying and the lock, came about when my father passed away in Birmingham, Alabama in 1991. And I'd like for you to really, really understand that the lock is a precious icon and is now in the Smithsonian Museum, Washington, D.C. And that lock is really, really important to my family. And you'll see the picture of the original lock. And in how I became the recipient of the lock, in 1991, my father passed away. And so I go back to the South to bury him. In the South, after the funeral, we go back to the house and have food, talk about our family and share. And my uncle, who was right next to my father, asked my mother, did he have a bag in the house that he had given my father 30 some years ago? My mother knew exactly what he was talking about. She goes into the bedroom, bringing his bag out. My uncle went into the bag and said, hey, this lock was the lock that was given to him by his father, Joseph Pace, which was given to him by his father, Steve Pace, the slave in our family. All the food stopped. Everybody was like, wow. we have an icon in our family goes back to the original enslavement here in this country. And so this comes from an area in the Macon County area. And Macon County area, that's where the Tuskegee, the airman comes from. That's where we have a complete, great history. And that lock is where it original Steve Pace came from. So the Tuskegee Institute is a center in there that deals with the Tuskegee history and also connecting me with the Macon County, Tuskegee, and the New York City burial ground. Because the lock, I made a replica of the lock, and I'm gonna move to the museum, to the story of the monument, triumph of the human spirit. That is the essence of my connecting with Macon County and the burial ground. I always give praises to my ancestors buried there in New York. A tribute to the ones who come before me. The grounds was rediscovered in 1991. When I came back to New York, I was shocked. Big front page New York Times article talking about the discovery of the grounds. Over 400 Africans and enslaved were buried in this site. So now you hear the history of the site.
And so I come back to New York, and they discovered the African burial ground in Lower Manhattan. And I was just shocked, because first of all, I had a lock in my possession that linked me directly to the enslaved population here in New York. So I go down, jumped over the fence, and began to photograph the site. That was me connecting myself with our past.
It was my privilege to be mayor during the time that it was discovered that blacks, slaves, and were buried in that area because they would not permit black folks to be buried within the city. This area was beyond the city boundaries. We don't think often about New York and slavery. We think of the South, but it was going on here as well.
In Sankofa, you have to connect for your past in order to know where you're going for the future. And I think it's important that we not only know for ourselves, but to teach our children about our past. Our past is painful, yes. And that's one of the things that inspired me to write my book, because my daughter, who's now 16, when she was 8 years old, asked me, "Daddy, are we from slaves?" That was a provocative question for me, an 8-year-old, to drop on me. And how do you explain that to a kid without feeling shame? But it's important that she know her history. It's important to look back and okay. Well, I told her, yes, we're from slaves, but look who we've done. We've created great things. I began to tell her, even though we were from slaves, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. I think everybody has to look at their past. I think every race, every being have to look at their past and see how they conduct themselves now for futuristic, especially for your kids. Your past is you.
And what you've seen in the video is a small small portion of the history. It was a major uprising here when we discovered those grounds here in New York. The African American community didn't want anything to be built on this site, and they wanted, because they felt it was a sacred site, but the federal government say, hey, this land is too expensive. This land is across the street from the federal, for the Thurgood Marshall building here in New York, which is the first African American. Also, it's 3 blocks from Wall Street, which is the financial district, 4 blocks from the World Trade, which is also the largest trading center in New York. Across the street is the CIA and FBI building. And also, it's the center of the government here in New York. The mayor's office is only less than a half a block away. All the city administration building is right there. So this is the most expensive land probably in the world, because we are sitting in the most financial area here in this country. That's where our financial system is there. And it's amazing, it's ironic that it was the least land that the city wanted to claim. That's where the African could only bury their dead. Now is the most expensive land in the country. So the triumph of the human spirit is a testament to what our human spirit can do. So the triumph of the human spirit, the monument, they had a call out for an artist to acknowledge these enslaved people here. And we began to see how that happened in the video.
When they had a call out for an artist to build this monument, I said, well, hey, you know, I might as well throw my hat in the ring too, since I had this lock. And I threw my hat in the ring, you know, and I was very fortunate enough to, I think the ancestors was the one that really said, hey, okay, now I'm gonna show you that you got the link to the lock and the key, so hey, I'm gonna give it to you to be, I have nothing to do with it. You know, I was just a pawn in the process of being awarded.
At the bottom there, you see the boat. The boat represents the very early Native Americans that used to boat in this area. This area was fishing and wild game. The boat also represents the Middle Passage for African and African Americans. Also, the boat represents the immigrants that came here mostly by boat and water. On top of the boat, you see the Jawara. Jawara is an antelope, and you see the antelope with the 2 horns. There's a male and female version of the antelope. And my inspiration to build this monument comes from the female antelope because she carries the baby. You see the 2 horns, the big horns. Then you see the little small 2 horns in the back. That's the baby. And the baby represents the next generation. And you see the beak of the antelope points towards directly to the African burial ground and points to the ground where the African were discovered.
And so the monument has been there for 20 years, and we had our big celebration last year, October 24, and on that day, we had to do our masks and social distancing because COVID was still a major aspect of but we had to do something to celebrate the 20th year. And that's what you're going to see going forward, the photographs, and we call it Human Spirit Day. Human Spirit Day, why? Because universal aspect of our human connectionness. And we had drummers, and you see aspects of singers playing in front of the monument, and had a beautiful day that day, a really celebratory event for all of us to share the 20th year here in New York City on that day. And that's me, celebrating the event. And on that day also, the borough president came and gave a speech as well as a proclamation for Human Spirit Appreciation Day. And we all really, really, really appreciate it. And then you see the proclamation from the borough president of New York City. And on that day, the borough president got together with about 15 different artists called TAC, ORC, and she renamed the boulevard around the monument, Black Lives Matter Boulevard. And so that's what we're dealing with right here now, because we're dealing with the systemic racism here in this country that has to be dealt with. And I call it the Great Reckoning at this moment in time, because that's one of the sore points that we have to deal with here in this country, because in terms of dealing with our systemic racism, we have to understand that it's been here for a while and we have to eradicate it. So, and you see the center of the monument, and it's like a starburst, sunburst, and that was a part of the design. And you see the Black Lives Matter, and all the artists select a letter, and they all designed the letter the way they felt was good for them. And you see the first letter, B, is from an artist from Ghana, West Africa. And all the artists selected what they wanted to put in those lettering. So now you'll see the video. And this is something that we all are here to learn and to share and to get the understanding that systemic racism is the core of this country, and we have to eradicate it. All of us have to be a part of this. The whole world has to be a part of this.
I'd like to thank Dr. Pace for that educational presentation. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, I will be linking some websites that you can explore in the video description, as well as a reference list for any images used in this video. I will also invite you to fill out a quick survey linked beneath the video in the description, which will help us gather feedback about this specific topic. This survey will take you no more than 5 minutes to fill out and will provide us with valuable information that will help in the formation of future presentations like this one. Should you have any questions regarding the presentation itself, Dr. Pace has made his email available, so that you may contact him with any questions or comments you have. Additionally, please do contact NAHOF with any questions or if you're interested in learning more about the organization and its work. NAHOF's contact information is on the screen. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Pace for providing a program for the Black History Matters series. I would like to thank you, the audience, for joining us on this educational journey. Please remember we will be releasing a new presentation each day, February of 2021, and I hope to see you at our future presentations. Thank you.